to get this guy wrapped up, we have 2 sheets of butcher paper. That's good looking bark right there. And so on the underside, nothing's burned, which is excellent. And so we're gonna take a scoop of our Wagyu tallow and we're gonna coat this, because what you perceive as moisture is usually rendered fat when you're cooking meat. So we're gonna take a scoop of that, put it all over the meat side, because the fat side already has fat covering it. We don't need more fat there. But we're gonna put it on this and then wrap it up. So the whole thing is essentially kind of an in-paper confit. So we want it to be as rich and juicy on the outside as possible. Also, that fat helps to preserve the bark because it helps to keep it from getting hydrated when it kind of steams a little bit in the paper. So all those reasons lead me to use extra tallow. And I think this is what a lot of places in Central Texas do. It's something they don't really talk about, but it's one of their, secret weapons to make their briskets extra special.
Okay, so earlier we were talking about this particular brisket and how we've got a nice bark on it. Explain to everybody what you were talking about pellets and what you typically see to get this color of bark. You typically have a burnt bottom.
Yeah, so what people typically do to kind of get around the issue of not getting the kind of color or bark with pellets that they want is they'll run an exceptionally low temperature for a long period of time. So they'll put it at 180 for 6 hours, and then 200 for a couple more hours, and then 225 for a few hours after that. And then they finally wrap. And what they've done in that extended cook time is they've desiccated or dried out these muscle fibers on the bottom side of the brisket. So they have dark color, they have bark that they want, but they've also dried out, burned,
compromised.
Compromised, that's a better word. They've compromised the integrity of the bottom of the brisket. So this did what we wanted in terms of color and bark without having to make any of those sacrifices. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out, because I've never done a brisket with just the almond pellets. So, all right. As somebody who scooped a fair amount of tallow in my day, okay?
So you're just gonna literally let that melt on there.
Yeah, I just want it to melt.
This is
all
like
over
melting
it.
ice cream.
What I actually usually like to do is smoke the tallow, because there are some compounds that are dissolved by fat, some compounds that are dissolved by water. They're called hydrophobic and hydrophilic compounds respectively. And I think you just get a broader spectrum of smoke flavor when you do both. So the meat is gonna absorb a certain amount, but the fat, if you just put it on the smoker, it preheats it, so it doesn't cool the brisket as much. Still has all of the moisturizing effects of the fat, but also absorbs smoke flavor by itself. And now, to wrap it up, 2 layers of butcher paper, 18 inches, and I usually roll over a tiny lip just so I can turn it.
And you want to roll that as tight as you can.
Yeah, as tight as you can, I mean within reason, just
Yes.
nice and tight. And so at this point, I hold it here, don't let it move, and kind of put a little downward pressure so it doesn't slide. Then I take this end and round it up tight around the point. And then I just go generally about a straight line. If I need to fold it in more later, I can, it's not a big deal. But that initial first kind of cupping the paper around is what's important. So, here we go, like this, roll it, keep it all in tight. There we go. Okay, got that guy. And then, just gonna fold this over, roll it one more time. This guy's ready to go back and finish up.
Okay.
So, a little parcel of brisket goes back on.